Okay, we would like to welcome Chris Shills, the Director of EMS Relations for Mountain View Hospital. If you're here, to come right up to the podium and tell us about why you're here tonight.
Well, thank you very, very much. Thank you, Spanish Fork City Council, and I was hoping that Mayor Mendenhall would also be here, but hopefully he'll listen and he'll watch this.
He's watching, I'm sure.
I will also address him for the opportunity and the privilege to be here this evening to recognize Spanish Fork Ambulance Service as well as Spanish Fork police officers. So let me do some quick introductions. First of all, we've got the crew that was here that we're going to talk about a case, and we've also got some police officers here that were here, and we'll introduce those a little bit later. From Mountain View Hospital, I have Dr. Bear. He is the emergency department physician when our Christmas Miracle patient came into Mountain View. He is also Spanish Fork's EMS medical director, and he is sitting right here. We also have Joe Fertitta. He is the emergency department director at Mountain View. We have Rustin Beck. He is the assistant administrator at Mountain View. Katie King is the chief nursing officer. And from Timpanogos Hospital, we have Kimball Anderson. He is the CEO of Timpanogos Hospital. And then I am Chris Shills, the director of EMS Relations for Utah County. I work for HCA and Mountain Division for Utah County. And we also have the police chief, Matt Johnson, here. So thank you for coming. And then we have the man of the hour, which would be Clint right here, Clint Smith, and his lovely wife, Sina, and his son, Jason, is that right? Yes, and their family. So City Council members and Mayor Mendenhall, our purpose here tonight, or this evening, is to recognize a specific EMS crew and the police officers that were involved in saving a life. Clint Smith's life, and to be introduced to Clint and his family, to those rescuers that were there that day. Clint Smith, with Clint's consent, I'll start with a synopsis of Clint's cardiac arrest event and treatment and survival. So on December 21st of last year, at about 2:20 p.m., while at his home, Clint and his wife were preparing to go out shopping, to do some shopping, and suddenly Clint went down onto the floor, and seeing that he wasn't responding and having a great difficulty breathing, 911 was called at about 2:30 p.m. And Jason, Clint's son, started CPR. Taylor Banks, the Smith's neighbor and a member of the Spanish Fork Ambulance Service, heard the page and responded to the call from his home. Taylor arrived at Clint's home and took over CPR. The crew working that day responded to the scene at about 2:31 and arrived at Clint's home at 2:35. The crew members and police officers at Clint's home went to work. They continued CPR, breathing for Clint, gaining IV access, administering medications, and shocking him several times with their defibrillator. At about approximately 2:47-ish, Clint regained a pulse, and they had established return of spontaneous circulation, which we call ROSC. The crew packaged him up on their gurney, and they started en route to Mountain View Hospital at about 2:52. And while en route to the emergency department, the EKG was transmitted to the ER, and the crew called in and gave their report. Mountain View Hospital's emergency team was waiting their arrival, and Ambulance 62 arrived at Mountain View Hospital at 2:59, 7 minutes after they left the scene. In the ED, Dr. Bear was the ED physician on at the time. Clint was sedated, intubated, placed on a ventilator. Labs and imaging were obtained and consults were made. Clint was admitted to the ICU. In the ICU, he was placed on hypothermia protocol. Consulting physicians were a neurointensivist and cardiology. And in the ICU, Clint went into a fatal arrhythmia, in where they converted him back into a normal rhythm again. Clint improved and was transferred to Timpanogos Regional Hospital, for cardiology consult, as well as electrophysiology, or EP, cardiac consult. Cardiology took him to the cath lab to see if he had any occlusions in his coronary arteries that could have caused the arrest. His arteries were not the culprit of his arrest. On December 24th, the EP cardiologist placed a dual chamber ICD, or an internal defibrillator, in Clint's chest to help prevent cardiac arrest from these fatal arrhythmias. Clint did well, and he was discharged from Timpanogos Hospital on December 25th and went home with his family and opened Christmas that evening. We call Clint our Christmas miracle. Seldom are our EMS partners and police officers recognized for the work that they do every day. We celebrate life because of their efforts in saving Clint's life that December 21st. We bring together Spanish Fork EMS rescuers as well as police officers and rescue them this evening for their dedicated service and fine work, and introduce them to the very person that they saved, and that would be Clint. They haven't met since that day, so I'm sure Clint looks a little bit different than he did. If I could have you come up when I call your name, and I'm going to have Clint come and stand just right to the right of me right here. And if you could come up when I read your name. Dr. Barrett, yeah. Because I think that this is really important. You know, they do work every day, but to actually meet somebody that they have actually saved, that means so much to Clint, to his family. It is a privilege to be able to be here and do that. Officer DeWitt. Officer Bowman. Officer Leifson. Officer Smith. Taylor Banks. Let me remind you that Taylor was the first on scene. He must have been the angel that walked in, I'm sure, to his wife. Bryant Wood. Spencer Byrne. Spencer Bradford. Christopher Gruber. Christina Reed. Ryan Baum. and Josie Nilsson. Thank you. As you can see, that takes a lot of people to save a life. And we're so grateful to them. So thank you, Spanish Fork City Council members and Mayor Mendenhall, and thank you, Spanish Fork EMS Ambulance Service and Police Department, for your great service to your community. I would like to just say one more thing. So we have a plaque at Mountain View, and we also have a plaque at Temp, and we have our crew members that when they save a life like this, we have their names on this plaque, and we recognize what they do in our EMS break rooms. And on this plaque it says, "In recognition and dedication and service exemplified through a courageous act in an effort to save a life." And so we are just very grateful that we are here and able to celebrate Clint's life. And I would like Clint, if he would, for just a few minutes, if he could say a few things, especially to maybe those that were there that helped save his life, and to his family. And then if we could get a picture of everyone here in front would be awesome. And then we'll meet outside and they can really talk. So anyway, but thank you so very much.
Thank you. I guess this experience has caused me to look a little bit differently at mortality. I was hoping not to get emotional tonight, but just a matter of minutes, or my granddaughter and my wife leaving the room for 3 or 4 more minutes, I wouldn't have made it. And I went back and looked at our doorbell camera and watched the entourage come in. I probably watched that 5 or 6 times. Saw the first guy we call an angel. I had no idea who he was. He just comes walking up from the north on the sidewalk, knocked on the door, and my wife didn't even know who he was, just let him in and took over for my son, who very thankful for him getting the process started. There's a lot of ugly in the world today, and it's nice to see people who will go out of their way to help others. Taylor didn't have to come up the street. He could have ignored that call. The EMS crew responded in such a timely manner. I watched the video again, and they were in and out in about 14 minutes. Had me on that stretcher, and she was right. 2:52, they pulled out, and to get to Mountain View Hospital in 7 minutes is pretty amazing. So I'm grateful to the EMS and the police officers, to the doctors, to my family for giving me a second chance at life. And I plan on having a second birthday every year, December 21st, and you're all invited who came to celebrate life twice in a year. So I just want to say thank you, and thank you to the council and mayor for letting us have this event and recognize these fine people. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Chris, if I can just hurry and say thank you for making the effort to do this. Annually, the council and mayor meet with our police department and see all of the awards that our police officers receive throughout the year of these life-saving merits, and we hear the whole story. But we never, to my memory, have met someone. So this is super special, and it's also super wonderful to have our EMS people that are also there, and everyone involved, and the doctors, the full story. It would be really neat to see this happen every single time, because you all do such incredible work that I know I would never be able to attempt. So thank you. I don't know how you thought you could come in here and not have any emotions, because this is an emotional story, so we're glad you're here. Thank you. So
Spanish Fork is very, very lucky.
we are. Thank you. So everyone to be in the picture, just come on up here and stand.
Get in there.
All right, we've got a few cameras, so get their smiles ready. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Stay a while. Looks great.